Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to turn some black walnut and maple into a coat rack using these hangers that I got off Amazon. So stick around to see how we do it, and please toss us a like if you like anything about this video. Cool. Enjoy. So after partially milling this stuff up, I'm seeing that this walnut actually has some ridiculous grain. Not only does it have the rosiness that is pretty rare in walnut, needs to be air dried for that, but it's got all sorts of figuring. Always conflicting when you find that nice, unique grain in the walnut, because on the one hand, like for a personal project, that's awesome. That is just so cool looking. Makes me want to not rip it and put maple in the middle. But on the other, I can't really sell whatever I make from that on Etsy because the grain is going to be so different than the listing photo. But I don't know, just my thoughts. So here's what the other side of that looks like. Just as nice. Can't rip that down the middle, come on. So I made the decision that for this project we're going to do a glue up, but for the rest of the coat racks I was planning to make off this build, I'm actually just going to leave the walnut as a single piece because it's gorgeous and I know it will sell at a craft fair. So you're going to see me remeasure to about 18 inches and start setting up for one single coat rack. Ooh, and that right there is why you want to use the hold down clamp. Alright, so now we're going to get some nice clean edges with the table saw, and then we're going to rip the walnut in half and set it up to take that maple strip, which we're going to cut next. So this maple strip that we're going to cut is going to be wide enough to completely encompass one of those wire hangers that I showed you at the beginning of the video. It's just wide enough for the plate that screws onto the piece. I thought that would be the most aesthetically pleasing way to do this. Alright, time to bust out the beefy clamps that I usually use for cutting boards. Pretty similar glue up here. So we are gonna get these all lined up and then we're gonna flip them up and glue the inner edges. I'm using Titebond 3 for this for no particular reason. I have it on hand. It's not a bad glue to use any time of the day. Has some additional waterproofing properties that I've talked about in other videos, so I won't yammer on about it here. So get a generous amount of glue, too much as I often do, onto these pieces, and then we'll flip them back the way they're supposed to go and clamp them up nice. I let this to dry overnight in my shop because it's really cold in there. You could get away with an hour or two under decent temperatures, but everything's looking good. You can see that I got nice squeeze out on the bottom side here, so pleased about that. It's time to bust this out of the clamps and maybe chisel off some of that extra glue before I run this through the planer. Ugh. Planer bag came loose. Fired sawdust everywhere. Oh well. There's what she looks like after getting cleaned up on the planer. Not too bad. Pretty good seams there with the maple and the walnut. No obvious gaps, which is good considering I had the issues with the joiner and had to get that edge with the table saw for the maple. Pretty cool. So now we need to just clean this thing up. We need to get both sections of walnut looking nice and symmetrical and get everything ready for that final router trim. So we're gonna go ahead and cross cut, just shave a little bit off either end and bring it to exactly 18 inches. Got to take the fence off. Here's what the router looks like naked. Tee. So I got to change out the bit here. I had a straight cut bit in there because I was using the fence. I was making some dado joinery. And now I'm going to switch out to a bearing bit that has a 45-degree chamfer on it. Set the old combination square to 1 inch, and I'll come in from either end now that it's 18 inches. That should leave me with a 16-inch spacing, which I will double check. So I don't want screws sticking out of the front of this thing, so I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill by using this bit that we use for magnet work. It's very similar to a Forstner bit, and it's slightly wider than the head of an average screw. It also leaves a nice little divot. In that divot, I am going to drill again with the bit that I'm eventually going to use in the stud in the wall, the bit that's slightly narrower than the screw that you're going to use. So I want a heavier chamfer here, so I'm going to run this through once, going short, long, and then I'm going to raise the bit and run it again to get a deeper chamfer with no scorch. Nice and clean. Now for some quick sanding, I went up to 220 with the random orbit sander and then 400 by hand. Next we are going to take our time, and I'm actually going to eyeball these because I have so much to work with. I have the nice maple stripe down the middle. I have the holes on either end. I feel like I can space these out nicely by eye. So I'm going to take some time, do that, and then mark the holes. After I mark these holes, I'm going to take something sharp, in this case a Forstner bit that I had laying around, and I'm going to put a little divot in each hole, right in the middle. An awl will work best for this, but sadly I could not find one. So these holes go really, really quick if you just put a little indent in the middle of each hole here, and yeah, really, really fast. So we're just going to drill clean through there. All right, now that that's done, it's 400 again, and finish. For finish, we're going to be using this stuff. If you guys have been subscribed to the channel a while, you're going to know that I love this stuff. It's an oil-based finish. Really good for pretty things that aren't going to get scratched up too much. I am actually going to add some wax over this, though, and that's going to help protect this thing from moisture that coats might have on them. Also give it a little bit more hardiness, and that's going to give me something that I can do whenever I want to improve the durability of the piece. I can always add layers of wax. This stuff is great. It's really easy to apply. You just want to get it on there in excess, let the wood drink it for a while, and then take off all the extra. So it looks like honey right now on there because it's so cold in my shop. You can heat this stuff up if you want before applying it, but it doesn't really matter as long as you give it time to drink and apply it in excess. All right, time to buff this sucker dry, and then we are going to leave it to cure, and then we're going to start building some coats of wax. Nothing fancy here, just take off the extra. With walnut, it can help to go with the grain, because any kind of rag against the grain can get caught up and start leaving debris. It's starting to happen to me right here, so I'm going to switch to a new cloth. Okay, the finish is completely cured at this point, very dry to the touch, and we are ready for coats of wax. So what we're going to do is use this paste wax here. This is Carnauba wax. You can use whatever paste wax. Most paste waxes work the same. What you want to do is streak it on, so just get it on there, let it tack up for at least 20 minutes. It really depends on temperature, but at least 20 minutes up to an hour, and then you're going to come with a clean cloth and you're going to buff those streaks into a nice shine. That's generally the process. And then after that, you let it dry for a day. It's one coat. Maybe you could cheat it up to 12 hours, you know, I probably will. But that's considered one coat, and you can do that as many coats as you want for protection, shine, lasting beauty, waterproofing. All right, so you should have gloopy wax tacked up a little bit. Now you're gonna take a perfectly clean cloth, fold it or wad it up into a ball, and then you want soft circles, making a little bit of friction, and you'll see it all even out into a nice shine. So now by hand, I'm going to attach all the hardware. The reason for that is this piece is already finished. You know, I don't want to slip with the drill, mess something up, and I don't want to over tighten these and split anything. We got them pre-drilled already, so it shouldn't be too bad to hand tighten them. Man. Well, there it is. Hope you like it. I'm a pretty big fan of how this came out. What to do now is mount it on the wall and get some coats on it. This is a painting my grandfather did, and while I really like it, it's just inside the back door, which is where I want to mount this coat rack. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this into the hallway, because we got coats that need dealing with. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you so much for everyone that subscribed. If you're not yet, please consider it. Toss us a like if you found this interesting at all. And if not, hey, no problem. See you next time, maybe. Take care.